Hey, um, buttons, click. Welcome back to me learning CW, where we learn CW. Today I am not joined by my wife, which has been sitting over here next to me working on her puzzle because she finished her puzzle, and I can't drag this. Can't move the puzzle, and I can't move this freaking camera that far, but that's what it looks like. It's pretty cool. So she ordered a new puzzle, and it'll be in the mail tonight. So she might show up tonight. But in lieu of her, I have a person who might be able to help us. That is, if I can, I don't want to share my screen. I want to do this. Boop. Chris Barber WX5CW. Oh, there we go. He knows CW so well that it's in his call sign. Am I right?
Yep.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. Say who you are, how long you've been in the hobby, and that sort of thing. And I'm going to make sure that they can hear you and all that stuff.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Christopher Barber, WX5CW. Okay. I've been a ham now for 20 years. I got my license in 2000 when I was a freshman in college. And my journey really began when I had to get my general license and the 5 word a minute was required.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go into more of that later on, but yeah, I've pretty much been doing CW specifically for about 20 years. Still not where I want to be.
Gotcha.
Don't think I'll ever get there. There'll always be some hiccups, but after watching Sterling's video yesterday, I jotted down some notes, remembering when I was in his shoes, and wanted to offer some advice and encouragement.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's what I was texting texting everybody last night because I was figuring this out while we were streaming. So, I guess let me ask a few questions. What am I doing wrong and what am I doing right?
One thing I noticed you said last night that I was kind of worried about it was you were like, oh, F is tricky because my brain hears like an E and then maybe like a T or, like 2 or 3 letters in the word, in the letter F.
Yeah.
And immediately when you said that, a thought popped in my head and I was like, maybe it's too slow. Maybe you need to go a little faster. So you get more of that rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
The rhythm with the letters is key because then once you build the rhythm with the letters, that grows and expands into words or other patterns that you're going to need to recognize if you want to move on up into full head copy or even full rag chewing. Because they'll key you off to different pieces of what the person's saying. And then there's common patterns that we use in all CW QSOs. Yeah, when you said that, I was like, is it fast enough? Should you be at 25 words a minute?
Mm-hmm. So I did do like a while back. I was like, I wonder how fast I can go. And I was doing like 30 words per minute. I was like, I could still understand most of the characters. It's just that the timing between the characters was a little quicker. Or maybe the timing was actually the same because the effective words per minute was still like 5, but it's just like it's a different, I don't know, neurological pathways, I guess you could say, when the speed is like crazy fast. But I was like surprised, wow, I could do it. And then I slowed it down, and I was actually like, I was surprised because I didn't receive I thought it would be so slow, and usually it is. Like if I'm listening to, if I'm working a contest or listening to a contest for a while, and then I turn down the band where there's rag chewing, it's way slower, and it's like, can you pick it up? Because like all I can hear is da, dit, 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 da,
Yeah.
So before, you mentioned that. Before we started tonight, you mentioned something about intentionally doing that, and how that has helped you do, like, or get proficient, I guess? And is that when you were learning the characters, or is that more for like when you're got the characters figured out, or uh, you're when you're trying to like learn sentences and stuff in words?
Um, what I would call, I'd found it on just like a random forum.
Mm-hmm.
It's a method that I call like speed up to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And what it entails doing is, let's say you had the G4FON program, you could load in like a random text file. And what I was doing was sometimes I was doing a mixture of letters, random letters. But I was listening to this at like 35. I mean, like just like I can barely copy maybe one or two letters. It was so fast.
Right.
And then, after 3 to 5 minutes, I'd bump it down by 5 words a minute, like the instructions had said. And by the time I got from like 35 down to 20, 20 sounded like 5. I couldn't believe how slow it was. And also, when you do progress past just the letters and you want to start learning how to copy words, you're going to need to bump that speed up so you get a rhythm, because you want to train your brain to recognize the whole word versus, okay, I just heard da 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 dit da dit or AGN, which is again. I want to hear da da dit da dit. I hear that. I hear AGN. Or if it's like a word ending in ing, which would anything with ing would be like did it da dit da da dit. It has a rhythm to it.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that because that's the last 3 letters of my name.
Yep.
Sterling.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
But yeah, there's a lot of rhythmic patterns. Actually, one I discovered last night was where and here, because they both have dit da dit dit. That ERE pattern embedded in them.
Everyone knows about test. Da 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 da. Because it goes by so fast, because contesters are trying to get that word out of the way as quick as they can, but they have to send it so that you can identify yourself as being in a particular contest. CQ test is da 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 da, and they don't waste any time, spacing those characters out because everyone knows what it is. Just like 599 too, they're not going da 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 da. They're going da 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 like as fast as they can.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, at where you're at right now, I think your progression. I was looking at your scores through the lessons, and I think your progression is great. I actually found at times when I was getting frustrated, by like putting it away for a day or two, I actually was copying better.
Yeah.
Just giving my brain a break. That also helps.
I do notice that every night, so I've been doing it every night just because it's like somebody on Reddit told me to, right? But every time I do the very first lesson or the very first like activity or attempt, they call it on LCWO, I get it almost perfectly every time, and sometimes I get it perfectly. There was one night I didn't, and it's probably because I was drinking, but the proficiency I have at the beginning is really, really good, but then it completely dies down towards the end. You can kind of see the sawtooth in the statistics that I show. And I find that really interesting. And I've always had this idea, like, I guess I never really kept it up because, I'll learn this many letters and then I don't need to learn Morse code for a while. And then I kind of let it go. And then I come back and I realize, I know K and M still, but not very well or whatever. Because for some reason, a lot of these Morse code trainers start with like K, M, R, and S and stuff like that. I noticed one starts with like numbers and stuff, but like mostly I've seen K and M. So I've gotten really good at like those few starting letters, and then I'm like, I can just come back, or maybe by some magical like my brain will just click if I'm on a CW contest, and all I need to listen for is a bunch of random letters, and that never works out. So really trying to stick it out, And so do you think like the best way at learning, how did you learn let me put it that way, how did you learn the characters, and how did that transition for you into actually being proficient and starting to learn like words and sentences and actually getting on the air?
Okay. Me learning just the letters it was a lot of frustration because just like hearing it, really just trying to match the patterns. It was really, really hard. So I did a lot of research, and then I came upon this training method called Code Quick. So what the guy was doing was he was pairing a sound with a sound-alike, also with a visual image, and also having you like take your finger and like do basically like draw the letter with your finger whenever you heard. So you would draw the letter, say the word, and then see a picture. So it was creating like a triple pathway. So then that was enabling me to hear things a little easier. The only ones that were like tricky were some of the letters. I mean, some of the numbers, like the number 8 trips me up sometimes. And yeah, pretty much H and 5. H for the sound like was deep in the heart, like deep in the heart of Texas, or did it. And then 5 was sit a halibut.
So one of the things that I've struggled with is the letter L, and I always say a light is lit because there's like a mnemonic that it's like it's a sound alike, and when I've noticed, and I lament it, like whenever I hear an L, I hear a light is lit, and I'm like, oh crap, I need to get that out of my head because every other character is the thing that is in my head is just the character itself, you know. And I've never been able, like, there's some like decodes. I'll hear an L come by and I'll be like, I'll just hit L and I'll be like, oh wait, I didn't think of Elijah's lit. But you're saying that that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like that actually helped you, because like it helped me learn L, and I think it helped me learn. There was one for F, but I don't remember it. Did it. So I feel like that's a good thing. But now I don't know any mnemonic or sound alike for that letter. So I'm trying to burn it into my head in Scratch. Because the problem I have with that is like your mind has to think of a real like English, like basically translate from that character, Morse code character, to English, and then your body outputs like English, if you will, and to the actual sounds of the letter in English, right? And I've been told, but I haven't read from any like there's no medical, I don't know, report or studies on learning Morse code and different ways of things. Everything in ham radio is honestly anecdotal, but some people like it, some people hate it. So like you're saying it's a little bit better, than it really helped you, right?
Yeah, this helped me pass my 5 word a minute. I was so nervous when I took that.
Oh wow.
The guy was like, you passed it twice over, and I was like, what? I was like, I thought I failed it.
Dang.
But yeah, it did slow me down, but just through constant practice and getting on the air, your brain just you'll come to this point, and your brain just it's like I can see it like it's printing out in my head,
right?
Or I'll hear like a couple letters and it's like, look, or that was Bob, or there's Jim, or he said cool, or like
you'll hear like the really common words, right? And
yeah.
And I think one of the common things that people do after like they get the words figured out is they start doing like 1,000 most common words, and that's one of the things LCWO has, or something like that. What's the next step after I learn letters? What would the next thing I should do be?
After you learn letters, I would then learn the basic format of a QSO, and then practice listening to those combinations of shorthand, full words, so you can easily recognize them without having to decode them letter by letter.
Right.
That'll build your confidence a little bit. But as soon as you understand the words, get on the air, because the biggest problem I had, and I still have, is I have a complete disconnect from my ability to receive and my ability to send. My ability to send is really shoddy. I practice working on that with rag chewing. Ability to receive is like top notch. I'm listening to like the top.
That's crazy because I'm totally opposite. Like I love to send, and I can send pretty aggressively. As long as I'm reading something, I can send it almost perfectly. If I'm thinking of something, I kind of have a 2 or 3 second, like, I gotta think of the word, think of the letters, and then I can kind of rip it out. But and I have a terrible time with the receiving part. So I've never heard of your situation where you actually struggle at sending more than you do receiving.
Yeah, because I got to the point of just doing N1MM on contest
Mm-hmm.
really fast. I mean, it's short exchanges
Mm-hmm.
and not sending with a key.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of going backwards now. Uh, um, yeah, it's tricky.
I see.
Once you get and that's just creating the neural pathway to be like, oh, I'm thinking, hey, Bob, how are you? And making it come out your hand, which can be quite tricky. But yeah, on the receiving side of things, yeah, you want to just make sure those two come up together. You don't want to have to like slow one down to speed up on another one. But I mean, the one thing that I've found that helps the most is just getting on the air, because it's going to force you to pay attention and copy, and it's going to force you to send and like make it right when you send it.
Yeah, I've heard no better advice than to actually get on the air, because it's stressful. I think everyone had our first. Every time when you had the first like time you had actually keyed the mic on a voice contact, the heart was pounding, you were sweating bullets, you were afraid you were going to say something that's going to get you arrested by the FCC boogeyman. And I think doing your first CW contact is very similar. And you can even go back and see my YouTube video of my first actual unassisted CW contact, where I spent about 10 minutes trying to figure out a DX station's like call sign, letter by letter by letter, and then just ripped off the exchange. Took like 2 seconds, and then I had this just euphoria of, oh my gosh, I finally did it. And continuously doing that and getting on the air makes it kind of cement, I would say. Like it solidifies your ability to know, or your ability to understand. You know what I'm saying, right? It just makes it easier. And it gives you a good reason. Like, there's a whole reason why I want to do it, is because I want to get into more portable operating, and the way to do that is QRP, and the way to do QRP is CW, especially at our end of the solar cycle. You could say, yeah, you could do FT8, but I want to go out with like a bundle of wires with like a paper clip and, a long piece of speaker, like the KG5HQD or KG6HQD speaker wire antenna. Throw that into a tree and just get and go. 9-volt battery, nothing, no computer, no phone or nothing. Just get it and go for like ultralight and that sort of thing. And that's really the reason why I want to do it, because I want to spend more time like doing ham radio outdoors. So
I agree with 100%.
Yeah.
Sterling.
And contesting too. CW contesting is fun as hell.
Oh yeah, especially when you pair it with being outside.
Yeah.
Except for, I'm still trying to figure out the best way of doing contesting to where I don't have to sit down the whole time. I actually did part of the NAQP standing up.
Well,
it wasn't too bad.
I wrote something a long time ago about standing desks. If you get a standing desk for your ham station, like, you raise it up, and you still, put it down when you want to sit, raise it up when you want to stand up. And I mean, thankfully, contests aren't that bad, and you can spend some time like off and take a jog or lay down or something. So, but the stress of doing that means, I'm not making QSOs, so I'm not getting the high score that I want, right? And I can see that. It's definitely a endurance sport. It's endurance for your rear end.
Yeah. Back to just the letters. Does LCWO have a feature to where it can speed up and slow down based on incorrect or correct responses?
No, it does not.
Okay.
I don't think so. It has like a Morse machine. It has lessons, but all the code group things are they don't do anything like that. But are you saying there's something out there that does?
Yes, Rough XP.
Mm-hmm.
That's a call sign generating program that'll do that. And then for the Macintosh, there's another program called QRQ.
Mm-hmm.
That will, if you get it right, it speeds up, I think, by 2 or 5 words a minute each time. And then it slows down if you get it wrong and just keeps slowing down.
Right.
But
I've heard a lot
also, I mean,
about RUF. It's RUFZ Roofs XP, and I have heard of that. And then for the Mac, it was what again?
QRQ.
QRQ. Yet another CW trainer. Very cool.
Looks like Mike's talking up a storm on the chat. I almost
Yeah.
recognized his name. I thought he was another ham I knew from Shreveport, Louisiana. I guess not.
Yeah. I think Mike's one of the regulars. He's the one that I always have to like approve his decodes in YouTube because it thinks they're spam, but they're not. So coming in as a novice and just having CW privilege is a huge benefit to beginner hams learn Morse code. Yeah, I agree, but it is such a hard, like, now that CW is not a thing anymore. Well, not a thing anymore. It's not a requirement anymore to get your license. It's the only reason why you would get it is kind of an intrinsic sort of, you just want to be you want to get your license, just, or you want to get into CW because it's just fun, like kind of like how I am, right?
Yeah.
I'll move my
And then you can,
things all over the place.
and I mean, the key here is also setting realizable goals
Mm-hmm.
to achieve. And then once you get on the air and you start getting the hang of things,
Mm-hmm.
figure out where you need to just polish up on certain letters. I know definitely 8 messes me up sometimes,
Right.
and then sometimes I think 6 is B for some reason. I mean, but there you only got one dit difference there.
Gotcha.
And then what I did after that was basically I wanted to get faster at contesting, so I did that. And then I realized I was really not that good at rag chewing.
Right.
To get good at that. So I took the CW Ops Level 3 CW Academy course, which is about progression to 25 words a minute at full head copy.
Interesting. So I'm glad you brought that up because because I know you did the CW Academy and I've had it brought up to me a couple times and I've been like, yeah, I do want to do it, but like I don't want to do it at this point where I'm just learning the characters. So you have like level 1 where you are like basic, you're learning the characters and you're going slow, right? And then level 2 is words, and then level 3 is like that full head copy, is what you're saying.
Level 2, it's more 15 words a minute.
Okay. So there's like a speed increase?
Yeah, well, level 1 is like you don't know Morse code at all.
Right. Like total beginner.
And then that gets you to the point of being exposed and practicing all the letters, numbers, punctuation. And then level 2 is bringing up your speed with knowing that, and then using it in functional QSOs. And then level 3 is, it's full head copy. There were many sessions in which we had to do pretty challenging stuff, like one person would send a word, and we would build a sentence, and we couldn't write anything down. We had to remember what the first person sent, the second person sent, and the second person has to send first person and the second, and build all the way around through 6 people.
That's like there's an icebreaker like that we used to play in like drama class or whatever, where you'd have to, it was like memory games. So that's probably a very good way to learn Morse code. And it is, in fact, a very good way. I think it is. And I don't really want to do it. I just, whenever I get done with the letters, right? Or am I kind of being silly in terms of like, oh, you should do it now because no better time than right now? Or am I on a right track? Like, keep this up. I do this every day, and if I don't, somebody out there like Mike is going to say, hey, where are you? Or should I start branching out into different kind of ideas? What do you think?
How many days you got left?
So it's a 90-day CW challenge, so like at the end of March, but my goal is I want to be in the I guess it's kind of a hard goal to reach, but on February 15th is ARRL-CW, and that's only in a handful of days. It's the 22nd of January right now, so I imagine by that point I'll have learned all the characters, but I won't have learned them at full head copy, contest speeds. But I do want to participate in it and use it as kind of a guide or a guidepost or a milestone of how I've been progressing, and then from that point on, I think maybe in the summer IRA UHF CW or something like that. But after 90 days, I'm basically free. Like at that point, I could keep going. I could stop right there, that sort of thing. Someone's at the front door.
Okay.
Oh, they're my wife's puzzle just got delivered. Everyone, that's what that was. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be operating with you for the ARRL WX5CW if you're going to be at awards.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to need you to pull your own weight. So we're going to get you the very comfortable copy. Because I think with your progression right now, have you completed all the letters and numbers and punctuation?
No. In another life, like I can if you give me a character, I will be able to decode it. But in this particular stretch, I have only got up to level or to lesson 21, which is I'll pull up the my LCWO lessons. If you look at the stream, or I can I can turn on the camera. Oh, it's probably backwards to you. But it's KMURESNAPTLWI period JZ equals, which is the BK pro sign, FOY comma V and G. And I'm 22 out of 40 lessons. So I still have, less than half to go, but and this is including all the letters, pro signs, some punctuation, and numbers.
Okay.
In fact, if I skip over to 40, let's see what all it contains. Yeah. So the only other punctuation is a stroke.
Okay.
Da 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 da. That's the stroke. So.
Shave and a haircut.
Yeah. What I don't know is if, like, because I still struggle with, like, W will come up and I'll be like, oh, crap, and F will obviously mess me up several times, but even letters like K that I have learned at first are still a struggle a little bit, but, like, what am I trying to say here? Once I learn all these characters, it's still going to be pretty difficult. But, like, I guess once you learn the characters, you go into words, you're actually learning words where you only need to know a few of the characters to fill out the entire word, right? Except for call signs.
Yeah.
Because with call signs, it'll be random letters and such.
So what I would say is when you get the 30 lessons, I would use like Morse Runner or Roof XP and start doing about 5 minutes of that at about 25 words a minute. And don't worry if you get it right or wrong. Just see if you can get down what you know. And then as you build in the rest of the letters, let it graduate. But stick with the call sign copying because that's randomized. And then once you feel comfortable with, like 85% of the letters and numbers with the call sign copy stuff, then I would start progressing to common words used in QSOs. But
Gotcha.
I would still be getting on at minimum once a week, get on the air, make 1 or 2 QSOs.
Right. Very good. All right. Mike asks, what band and frequency should we start for us slow beginners? 10 or 15 worked well for 5 words, 10 words per minute, but now 10 and 15 are hard to come by since the solar cycle. I'm imagining like 40 and 20 are going to be your money bands for those, but what frequencies would be a good place for a slow person or slow CW op?
pretty much when I was learning, I was doing QRP, so I hung out at 14.060 QRP calling frequency, or 7.03. I think 30 is the European. I think we are 40. Gotcha. But anywhere around those QRP calling frequencies. But be mindful. I mean, you're gonna have the FT8 guys around there too.
Oh yeah.
But there's a majority of guys above 40 kilohertz that go slow.
Would you say, and I'm it's kind of a leading question, but like if you're sending Morse code at a certain speed and you're sending slowly, would you expect to get a reply back that is at the same speed, or like will people be like, will they reply like, oh, you're sending at 10 words per minute, but somebody comes back at 25 words per minute, or will they generally respond back at your speed because they kind of know, okay, he's going slow, I should go slow too? If you've had any experience about that.
I've had some guys slow down. I myself slow down. It's painful, but you want to see people, you want to help people along. But I have had guys come back and they're like flying, and I'm like, QRS.
Yeah,
QRS.
QRS means slow down. And I hope if you send QRS, they're not taking it in the wrong way. Or if you send, what's the speed up one? Because like QRL or something like that. But I don't think many people will send that. Like, you need to go faster. It's like, well, maybe you can send it as a question.
No matter what, the kind of rule of thumb with all the CW operators is that you match the speed of the guy you're talking to.
Yeah.
We want everybody to be able to learn, and they're just only going to get frustrated and put away that key if you're blasting them.
And I think generally CW operators have, all hams are really nice people. You'll see people who talk about hams in a great light. There are a few hams out there who aren't great, but like majority of them, I think, will be more than happy to talk at your speed. I would caveat, like, maybe it might be hard for them to actually slow down because, like we talked before, if they're used to like 40 words per minute rag chew speeds or contesting speeds, and they have to go down to 20 or 15, then they're gonna have to struggle to be like da dit dit da, and you're probably gonna have the same problem as me as they're trying to fill in what they're trying to say before they're finished like sending. Mike Heitman says 7122 is normally slow speed. Hi, Mike. Thanks for watching. We know him.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Pretty much up in that portion of the 40-meter band, too.
Yeah.
I did a lot of things. I used to remember falling asleep listening to HF. And I'd hear W9ZN out of Chicago. He would just call CQ for hours, and then other stations. But getting on the air, and then you're just stable, more like perfect practice, because you don't have fading or any of the issues you have on the air, heck, even working DX would make an easy QSO, because the guy just wants your signal, your name, maybe your state, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's a quick in and quick out.
Yeah, my old videos of working K5D and some other DX contacts on YouTube are like, I only did that, and I only did some contest QSOs just because I knew exactly what they were expecting and what I was expecting from them. They didn't know me, so they probably weren't gonna say anything. And there's been a handful of contests where I'm at W0EEE and I'll hear just a blast of 1,000 words per minute of them saying, "Hi, I went there in 20 blah blah blah," but I would have never gotten that because all I'm listening for is his call sign, the check section precedence, for sweepstakes or whatever the exchange is. So hopefully by the end of this, I'll be able to figure out what they were trying to say to me. What is your opinion about scripts? QTH signal port, rig antenna, and 7.3.
They are great because if you're not ready to go into a full-on rag chew yet, and you want to do a proper exchange, you also want to listen to what they're asking, because you don't want to provide just signal, name, location, and then stop if they're also providing rig, antenna, SKCC number, other things. And pretty much, I mean, I wrote one out to just get back into remembering how to have a QSO, because I'd done so much contesting and then sat out for about 2 years. Basically, I put one together, and it's basically his call sign, DE mine. Then I sent FB, fine business, ES and GD, good day. Your RST, 5XX, whatever it is. OP for op, Chris, good, PY, copy, into Mo, Missouri.
So you're written out a script for you to follow and send, so you don't have to like think of it on the fly. And it's also just like, what am I going to talk about? Like a lot of people ask, when I got my license, now what? Well, start doing this. I got into CW, now what? Well, listen to what they do on CW. And I think a majority of rag chewing, and I learned this in my PSK 31 days, and even learning even on phone, is that there is a sort of protocol to learning to any QSO, and the same goes for CW QSOs, except they use a lot of those pro signs like and shortenings like CPY or GD, a BK or BT, like da 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 da, that equal sign thing that I learned, which is kind of like, I'm trying to think of what to say, but I'm just filling the air. It's like I think that's what I think the BT would be. But yeah, scripts are absolutely great. And once you're done with the script, you say 73, the QSO ends, or the other person or yourself will catch on to something, like they have a particular radio you're interested in, or you might look them up on QRZ, and then you find that they went to the same college as you, and then you strike up some conversation and then go from there. Personally, I'm a bad ham because I don't rag chew, but maybe that's a bad thing that I should improve, because I really like hearing people's stories, and that's one way to learn about like other things. I've just found it's like typically it's the same thing. Oh, the weather's this. My radio is this, running this much power. Okay, bye. And it's like, well, what did I get out of that? I got a QSL card maybe, but sometimes, especially when I'm operating from Triple E, they'll be like, hey, I'm an alumni, and that's like, oh man, we need to contact them so we can, send them all of our newsletter stuff and maybe get a donation out of it, and help grow our alumni association, which is a really good reason to have rag chews, especially if you're at a college. And I'm talking to W4AQL out there if Bruce is watching. But generally, I don't know, maybe I need to do more rag chewing.
Well, with not knowing if your QSO is going to progress into a rag chew or not, it is a tricky thing. And actually, N5BH, what was it? N5BHT? Gary? Let me look that up real quick. I don't want to screw up his call sign. Gary Stone. He's a member of CW Ops with me. Gary is, N5PHT. He did a really good podcast interview for the Did podcast or something I listened to. He talked about, he talks about wanting to grow a movement to where if you want to rag true, call TQRC.
Oh yeah, I just actually literally just heard that today. I've been trying to catch up on these episodes. The dit.fm podcast talks about Morse code, and I have it up on the screen right now. And the most recent one, or the second to most recent one, is episode 26, CW Rag Chewing 101.
Yep.
He says it.
Because,
I think he says it somewhere in here. But this is a good episode to listen to understand, what the elements of a CW ragchew are, what abbreviations to use. Mike, I pulled up the Wikipedia article for pro signs for Morse code. Morse code. And what are the most common? I think you heard him in Chris's script. Like to add to that is weather is WX-ray, whiskey X-ray. But you'll see on here there's a lot of some of them are like you don't use these like double A or ASAR, but I think there's some better if you look up pro signs or CW abbreviations here.
Yeah, and then you got to brush up on your Q signals if you want to do any CW nets.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Here's probably the common abbreviations for CW work. This is probably the ones you wanna know.
But to your point, Sterling, with enjoying learning about people and asking them questions, that's going to be where your typical QSO will create a departure point into a full-on ragchew.
Mm-hmm.
Either you or the other person is going to ask that one extra just question, and then that's your signal that, okay, we're going to progress into a ragchew, so I need to either cut it off now or keep on going.
Yeah, and I get that paralysis where it's like, I don't know if I feel bad if I'm saying 73,
Yeah, well, stuff happens and people understand. I mean, heck, I've been down here operating when my oldest son was younger and would have to be like, hey, gotta run, baby's crying, see you later, 73. Yeah. And we just started the QSO. So
I love this thing. If you're doing a phone contest or a phone conversation, there's an app or there's a sub app on the the Hamlog app on iPhone, and it's ring the phone, and you literally click it and it makes this obnoxious like rotary phone ringtone, and you play that in the background and you put it a little closer to the mic and say, oh, I gotta answer the phone at 73, and then just turn off the radio, and then you're off on your merry way, just to have an excuse, because I honestly need one. I feel terrible if I'm like, well, I'm done talking. I don't have anything else to say, and I want to go do something else, like watch YouTube for a couple hours. But I don't want to say that. So I've been in many a long-winded QSO where I'm just like, not even today at work I was talking to somebody like that, and so it's not just CW or ham radio in general. It's pretty much everywhere. But I don't know. You just got to say 73, and it's not a bad thing to use an excuse. I think what we can gather from that.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap things up, I gotta actually.
Speaking of 73, we've been going off for almost an hour now, so.
Yeah, if anybody's interested tonight, we do have our 0300 CW Ops CWT, all bands, starting at about 28 kilohertz above the bottom of the band tonight for 1 hour. It's a great time. A lot of the top CW operators and contesters in the world actually will be on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll know if you're not a regular, and we'll take note of that. And actually, that's how we get new members at times, is we notice you making effort on the CWTs, and also maybe doing the CW Academy, and that helps build influence with the members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great group of people, all about learning Morse code from any skill level. But yeah, Sterling, I think you're doing great. I'd say give it 10 more days, get some more characters, jump right in the Morse runner.
Okay.
And try to get at least one QSO a week.
All right.
At minimum. I know you're working and have a...
Yeah. And
wife,
the other aspect about I need to put up an antenna and stuff, and if Ward ever sees this, he'll yell at me for not having my he's designed a Dublin antenna that goes between the city's tree and my backyard tree, but I just still haven't put it up, and that's all my dumb fault. But I have right next to a park. It's not like a Parks on the Air park, but I do want to get out and get away from the noise because the area around here is really noisy. But as you know, and as Mike Heitman knows, we have a club. We have an emergency operations center that we can use freely since we're members of our company's radio club, which is really awesome. And I need to get over there more. But since I left the building, I now have a lot less time over there. So, all right, Chris, I want to say thank you for coming in. Sorry for keeping you way longer than I thought. And I'm going to say 73 to you and everyone, because tonight I'm going to take your advice and give myself a CW break. And also the fact it's been almost an hour. I'm sure everyone wants to leave my stream if they're glued to it. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. Any last words of advice or tips or tricks or anything before we go?
Make it fun. Never practice more than 30 minutes at a time, and find a buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Find somebody to practice with. It really helps.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm an introvert, and you can call YouTube my buddy, because I thought there was no way I'm going to actually do this for 90 days unless I have a somebody telling me to do it, and that somebody is hitting the stream button and coming on and actually doing it. And a lot of people have told me it's a good idea. I don't have very many views, but don't care. I'm glad with the views that I got and the people that show up. It's a lot better than some of the video game streamers who have 1,000 people in a conversation that's just flying by. But really, it's I hate to sound narcissistic, but it's for me. This is all for me to learn Morse code, and also to get more people interested in it. Maybe YouTube will catch on the algorithm, and at some point this series of videos will be like inspiration for at least one other person out there to learn Morse code with me. So, all right. Thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome, Sterling. Take it easy.
Yeah, you too.
Catch you next week.
Yeah. Have a good night. Thanks.
You too. Bye.
See you. All right. That was fun. So, like I said, no Morse code tonight, but we learned a lot. I learned a lot. I've been meaning to talk to him to get more information on really just this thing that I'm doing. He's local to me. He lives here in St. Louis, and we also work at the same company. So that's where I know him from. And he knows Morse code a lot better than me. We love going down to the W0ECC, Ward Silver's, basically his fun house of ham radio stuff. Hello, old man from Twitch. So yeah. Again, here I am having a struggle trying to say goodbye. But hello, wham, bam, shangaling, and also goodbye to everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you tomorrow night at 7 p.m. to learn Morse code again. 73.